The first thing you feel when stepping into Primitive War 2025 is a kind of trembling curiosity, the kind that rises when two incompatible worlds collide and insist on sharing the same frame. There is something haunting about watching the humid greens of Vietnam's war-torn jungle become a hunting ground for creatures older than human memory, and something strangely poetic about the idea that war, human war, is not the only force capable of erasing a man. From the very first frames, the movie whispers, "You came for soldiers. You will stay for survival." And in that whisper lies the film's unusual cinematic ambition, its willingness to gamble on the fusion of historical trauma and prehistoric terror, a creative risk built from equal parts adrenaline and anthropology. When a film chooses to merge two highly specialized genres, war drama and dinosaur survival horror, it enters a marketplace carrying an unusually high financial and technological burden. Primitive War is not a small independent curiosity. It is a mid to large-scale studio gamble, a project that demands creature effects, period-accurate production design, military hardware, sophisticated VFX pipelines, and a believable ecosystem of extinct predators. Though official numbers have not been confirmed at the time of recording, industry analysts estimate a production budget in the range of $55-70 million, approximate with additional marketing costs likely pushing total investment to around $91-10 million, approximate That places the film squarely in the elevated risk category for non-franchise properties. It is a kind of movie greenlit only when a studio believes the concept itself is powerful enough to spark global curiosity, and perhaps a franchise. Financially, this film represents a classic case of high-risk IP mining, where a studio adapts a high-concept novel with a built-in cult following, hoping that the strength of the concept will generate organic demand. The novel Primitive War written by Ethan Pettis, already carried a reputation for its raw blend of gritty soldier narratives and monstrous biodiversity. From a business perspective, this makes a film a hybrid product, part character drama, part creature spectacle, part historical fiction. That fusion is not just narrative, it is an economic strategy, a way to broaden appeal across military enthusiasts, sci-fi fans, creature feature collectors, and survival horror audiences. And this is where the film's industry context becomes important. Hollywood has been in a transition era, increasingly driven by data-centered greenlighting, risk-averse franchises, and IP recycling. Against that backdrop, Primitive War becomes a fascinating anomaly, an attempt to build a new cinematic property where realism, terror, and ecological imagination coexist. It is an investment in freshness, banking on the idea that audiences still seek cinematic worlds that feel dangerous and unknown. Its marketing campaign subtly leaned into this, promoting not just dinosaurs, but the psychological pressure of soldiers realizing they are no longer the apex predators of the battlefield.
The first half
plot
of
begins with a
Primitive
covert
War
military unit being sent into the Vietnamese jungle
moves
during
with the
the war,
quiet dread of a
under
patrol
orders that
slipping
appear
deeper
routine but
into a
quickly
jungle
reveal
that doesn't
themselves
want
to be anything
understood.
but.
The
Instead
film
of
opens
enemy
its
competence,
narrative not with
the squad
spectacle,
encounters
but
something
with the
older,
uncomfortable discipline
stronger,
of soldiers
and far
stepping
less
into
predictable.
classified
A
territory
forest
under
alive with
orders wrapped
predators
in
resurrected through
ambiguity.
unknown
The Recondo
means.
team, a
What follows
specialized
is a
group
narrative that
assembled for
explores fear
clandestine
through
missions,
multiple
lands in
dimensions,
Vietnam expecting
biological,
a recovery
political,
operation,
emotional,
retrieve missing
and uses
CIA
the jungle as a
personnel,
battleground not
verify
only for
intel,
survival,
and return.
but for dissolving
Yet
the
from the
illusion
moment
of
their
human
boots
dominance.
press into the wet
The
soil,
emotional
the film
architecture of
begins
the story
applying a
leans
slow
heavily on the
psychological
tension
talk,
between trained
hinting that the
soldiers and
jungle
primal
is carrying
instinct.
secrets
Every
older than the
choice in
war
the early
itself.
setup is
This is
designed
the
to create a
pacing
slow
philosophy of
erosion
the
of
first
certainty.
half.
What
Reveal
makes this
nothing
film
quickly,
interesting from a
let dread
cinematic
accumulate
engineering
like
perspective
humidity.
is the way it
The
treats
initial mission
dinosaurs not as
briefing operates
nostalgic
like a
franchise
startup
mascots, but as
prototype,
ecological
clean,
threats with
minimal,
weight, texture,
deceptively
and
simple.
unpredictable
It
motion.
frames the operation
The film's
in corporate
technical
terms,
ambition is to make
objective
these creatures feel
distribution,
embedded
risk
within the
assignment,
humid air,
and resource
the foliage,
allocation.
the
But
mud,
within
and the
minutes of
sweat.
entering the
That
canopy,
requires
that structure
sophisticated
begins to fray.
environmental integration,
The team finds
digital
signs of
compositing,
conflict with no clear
high-resolution
logic,
creature
shredded
animation,
foliage, abandoned
detailed sound
equipment,
layering,
bodies
and the
torn
kind
apart
of
in
rendering
ways
that
that no
demand both
known military
GPU
force
power
could
and
replicate.
artistic restraint.
The film
In
uses
that
these
sense,
early discoveries to
Primitive
create an
War
emotional
is
R&D
not just a
phase,
movie.
where the
It is
soldiers'
a test of how
expectations are
convincingly
tested
Hollywood
against
can
anomalies
resurrect
that break
extinct
the rules of
ecosystems
engagement.
without leaning into
In
glossy
this way,
spectacle.
the narrative
In
mirrors
terms of
the early
emotional
development
design,
cycle of
the
a
film
high-risk
uses
tech
its soldiers
project,
as
a
behavioral
neat
case
blueprint
studies. Their
destabilized
fear
by
is not simply
unforeseen
fear of death.
realities.
It is
The
fear
squad
of irrelevance,
dynamics in these
of being
scenes become the
unprepared,
film's
of
first
realizing that
emotional
war has no
returns.
meaning when
Each
nature
soldier
decides to
embodies
rewrite
a different
the rules.
response to
The
uncertainty,
psychological
some
undertow
leaning on
shapes the
training,
movie into
others on
something more
instinct,
introspective
some
than its
refusing to
premise
acknowledge
suggests.
that the
Instead
situation
of
is not
relying solely
conventional.
on jump
The
scares or
script
creature
uses
set
this
pieces,
contrast
it
to build
uses silence,
psychological
thread,
friction.
and the
And
slog of
because the
jungle
first half
movement to create a
operates on
sustained
limited creature
emotional yield.
reveals, the
From a
emotional
storytelling
profit
economics
margins come from
perspective,
watching men
this
who
is
are
a clever
prepared for
strategy.
enemy combatants
Small,
but not for apex
controlled reveals
predators with
extend
ancient
suspense
senses
without
and
requiring
biological
constant high-cost
advantages.
VFX
That
output.
tension becomes
This
the
increases
narrative
narrative
currency of
return
the
on
opening
investment,
act. When the
converting
first
tension
true
into
creature
engagement
encounter
without
finally
inflating
arrives,
the budget
the film treats
unnecessarily.
it like a market
Meanwhile,
disruption,
the
sudden,
studio's technology
violent, and
partners
impossible
approach the
to
project
ignore.
with a
The
mindset that
Recondo
creature
team
films
is
today must
ambushed not
compete
by an
not only with
organized
theatrical
force,
releases
but by
but with
something
streaming
faster than sight,
expectation.
its attack
High dynamic
communicated
range,
only through the crash
4K
of
delivery,
foliage and the
and
crack of
efficient
bones.
rendering
The
pipelines
film
shape the visual
deliberately
workflow,
withholds full
allowing
visual
the production
clarity,
to
using
emphasize
motion
texture,
blur,
the roughness
environmental
of scales,
distortion,
the
and sound
wetness of
design
leaves,
to imply
the
shape
contrast
without
between
revealing
human
detail.
machinery and ancient
This is a
muscle.
strategic
This
choice.
reflects a broader
Withholding the
industry
full
evolution.
creature reduces
Audiences no
VFX load
longer
early
accept
in the film while
hyper-believable
maximizing
CGI.
suspense
They
ROI.
want creatures
The
rendered with
soldiers fire
anatomical
blindly,
plausibility,
desperately,
grounded
and the
movement
jungle
physics,
absorbs
and
every
shadow
bullet
discipline.
without revealing its
Ultimately,
intruder. What
Asterisk
follows
Primitive
is a
Wars,
retreat, chaotic and
2025,
disorienting,
Asterisk
where the
introduces
unit
itself not
regroups and
just as a
attempts to
story,
reorder the
but as an
mission using
experiment.
whatever
An
logic still
experiment in
applies.
tension,
This is the
ecology,
moment where the
military
story's
psychology,
emotional
and
investment
cinematic
starts
risk.
to deepen.
It is a
The
film that
soldiers
asks whether a
begin
new
documenting
IP
what
can
they've
survive in
seen,
a studio
exchanging
environment
fragments of
dominated
fear,
by
trying
sequels
to
and familiar
categorize something
universes.
that refuses
It is also a
categorization.
reminder that
This
cinema
becomes
thrives when it
another
dares to merge
storytelling tactic,
unexpected worlds,
diagnosis
when it
as denial.
transforms impossibility
Humans,
into a
when
believable
faced with
force
the
of nature.
impossible,
The
often resort
opening
to
of this
naming
film
it,
declares that
framing it,
ambition loudly.
placing it in a
It tells us we
hierarchy
are
they can
entering a world
understand.
where the past
The
is
film
teeth,
treats
where
this
the
as a
jungle is
psychological
alive,
defense
and where a
mechanism,
handful of
one
soldiers
that will
must
soon
face the
collapse.
ancient truth that
As the
survival is
squad
not a
moves
human
deeper,
invention.
the jungle begins to transform from background into antagonist. The cinematography emphasizes depth more than width, trees layered like barriers, shadows behaving like watchers. The Recondo team discovers remnants of what they believe are scientific experiments, suggesting that the jungle's predators did not arrive naturally. This subplot adds a corporate thriller undertone, implying unauthorized research, military cover-ups, or biological experimentation. The first half does not confirm these suspicions, but it uses them to widen narrative scope, creating a sense that the mission's true stakes extend far beyond missing personnel. Midway through the first act, the film provides its first significant creature reveal, a pack of velociraptor-like predators stalking the team with coordinated precision. The encounter is terrifying not only because of the creatures themselves, but because of the soldiers' realization that the jungle's predator hierarchy is structured, intelligent, and indifferent to human tactics. The attack sequence is choreographed like a hostile takeover, swift, calculated, and merciless. The squad suffers casualties, forcing leadership decisions that reflect battlefield economics. What is the opportunity cost of pressing forward? What is the survival ROI of retreat? What weighs more, mission objectives or human life? The film uses these losses to tighten the emotional narrative. As the team shrinks, their internal bonds strengthen, and the story begins exploring how trauma compounds when faced with threats that defy logic. The soldiers' training and the audience's expectation of military dominance is gradually dismantled. Fear becomes less about death, more about insignificance. Through quiet dialogue and exhausted silence, the film turns survival into a philosophical burden rather than a physical task. The first half ends with the discovery of an abandoned research outpost buried deep within the jungle, a half-erased footprint of the unknown organization that may have engineered the resurrection. The squad finds scattered documents, damaged equipment, and photographic evidence of experiments beyond rational ethics. But before they can process the implications, the jungle grows restless again. Something massive moves outside, something not yet revealed, something that feels like the apex of the apex. The soldiers prepare for engagement, exhausted, terrified, disbelieving, and the film cuts the first half at a moment of unbearable suspense, a cliffhanger engineered to propel the emotional and narrative stakes into the second half. The second half of Primitive War, 2025, begins with the kind of suffocating tension that only arises when human beings recognize they have crossed a line into territory no longer governed by their rules. The squad's discovery of the hidden research outpost marks the narrative's pivot point, an emotional handoff where fear evolves from confusion into comprehension. They are no longer stumbling into chaos, they are waking up inside a blueprint of someone else's making, a design carved in bone and ambition. The silence around the base feels engineered, as though the jungle itself is holding its breath. And in that breath lies the unmistakable truth: the soldiers have seen only the smallest fraction of what hunts them. The second half opens with the team thick in debate, flipping through half-burned documents that hint at a classified biotechnological project with impossible aims. Their fear becomes sharpened, intellectualized. They realize that the dinosaurs are not just anomalies, they are assets, part of a program meant to weaponize prehistoric biology. The soldiers attempt to connect the dots. Why here? Why now? Why during an already catastrophic war? The script treats this revelation like a market launch gone wrong, an experimental product released into an environment unprepared for its volatility. And like many failed innovations, the consequences ripple outward uncontrollably. Before the squad can extract more information, the base is assaulted by something colossal. The walls shake, the ground trembles, and the sound that follows is not a roar but a continental memory, low, resonant, and heavy enough to silence every human thought. The creature is not fully shown yet, only glimpsed through debris and flickering shadows. This withholding is a financial and emotional strategy. The film reserves its highest-cost VFX moment for when the audience's psychological investment is deepest. The squad barely escapes as the outpost collapses under the weight of something that feels like an ancient verdict. Once back in the jungle, the soldiers become travelers rather than fighters. The mission transforms from recovery to survival, and the narrative shifts its pacing accordingly. Gone are the tactical dialogues and structured formations. What remains is desperate movement, fragmented decision-making, and moments of exhausted clarity. The jungle now feels like a stock market in freefall, no stable ground, no reliable trend, only volatility and instinct. The soldiers' fear morphs into a type of situational numbness, a survival trance that allows them to keep moving even as logic collapses around them. Midway through the second act, the film intensifies its emotional yield by focusing on interpersonal fractures. Trauma begins to distort everyone's judgment. Characters confront guilt, responsibility, and the raw terror of realizing that their military dominance means nothing here. These psychological scenes are among the richest in the film, serving as behavioral economic studies on how pressure modifies human decision-making. Every choice carries an emotional opportunity cost. Continue the mission, risk death. Deviate from orders, risk meaninglessness. Trust each other, risk heartbreak. Distrust each other, risk collapse. The raptor pack returns in the second half, but this time not as the primary threat. The soldiers have adapted slightly, they understand the creature's tactics, their angles of attack, their language of stalk and strike. Yet even this small knowledge is fragile. The raptors herd rather than kill, pushing the soldiers through the jungle like pawns, as though driving them toward something larger. And indeed, the film soon reveals that the jungle's predator hierarchy mirrors a structured ecosystem, one with a colossal apex that has remained unseen, a tyrannosaur-like behemoth resurrected with horrifying anatomical precision. The reveal of the apex predator is staged like a market shock, sudden, overwhelming, economically altering the entire narrative landscape. The creature emerges from the shadows not as a spectacle, but as a force of ancient inevitability. The cinematography emphasizes mass, momentum, and the crushing arrogance of evolutionary perfection. The soldiers' weapons glance off its hide, their tactics scatter like frightened birds. It becomes clear that this creature does not fit into any human framework of conflict. Its existence is a reminder that nature once solved the problem of dominance long before human civilization emerged. As casualties mount, leadership becomes strained. The commander must choose between mission fidelity and moral responsibility, and the film uses this tension to explore leadership economics. Every order has a cost, every hesitation a consequence. Some soldiers break psychologically, others rise unexpectedly, and the group's emotional structure shifts like a fragile supply chain under stress. These moments serve the dual purpose of deepening character value and amplifying the audience's emotional bond with the survivors. In the final movement of the second half, The squad discovers a clearing containing the remains of the lost CIA operatives. But rather than a grisly spectacle, the discovery is treated with quiet reverence. The soldiers realize that the earlier operation didn't merely fail, it was consumed. Their mission is no longer salvageable. Extraction becomes the only viable objective. Yet the path to escape forces them into the apex predator's territory for a final confrontation. The sequence is constructed with escalating dread. It does not rely on speed or shock, but on the slow tightening of inevitability. The climax unfolds in a rainstorm that turns the jungle into a drowning labyrinth. Lightning reveals the silhouette of the tyrant creature, each flash freezing it like a prehistoric photograph. The soldiers attempt multiple strategies: distraction, environmental traps, coordinated fire, but each fails to dent the creature's evolutionary supremacy. Losses become unavoidable. Yet within the chaos, a sacrificial strategy emerges, one soldier breaking from the group to draw the creature away in a desperate bid to buy time. This act becomes the emotional fulcrum of the film, demonstrating how bravery and futility can coexist in a single human heartbeat. The surviving soldiers finally reach the river, where an extraction team arrives just as the jungle erupts behind them. The final shots of the second half are not triumphant, they are somber, reflective, almost documentary-like. The soldiers look back not in victory but in awe. They have not conquered anything. They have witnessed a truth older than war itself, that humanity's dominion is temporary, fragile, and easily dethroned by forces it does not understand. The film ends the narrative arc not with closure, but with unsettled questions hinting at political cover-ups, scientific irresponsibility, and a possible continuation of the program that birthed this ecological nightmare. The true power of *Primitive War, 2025, becomes clearest when we step away from the teeth, scales, and spectacle, and look instead at the human minds attempting to survive inside an environment designed to erase them. The film understands something profound: when you place trained soldiers into a prehistoric ecosystem, you do not merely create physical danger, you create psychological dissonance. These characters have been conditioned for one kind of war, one adversary, one logic of conflict. But the jungle in *Primitive War* operates on rules older than language, and it breaks the soldiers' cognition as slowly and methodically as it breaks their bodies. The story becomes not only about survival but about watching human psychology recalibrate under evolutionary pressure. In the Recondo team, each character represents a distinct behavioral pattern, almost like a portfolio of emotional assets responding to sudden market collapse. The commander is the embodiment of structured decision-making, a leader trained to evaluate risk, delegate responsibility, and maintain narrative cohesion for the group. But as the jungle's threats escalate beyond military predictability, his leadership becomes a study in diminishing returns. Every order given carries a psychological price, every hesitation compounds collective anxiety. He becomes trapped in the economic paradox of command. The more he tries to control the situation, the more the situation reveals his lack of control. Another soldier, typically the skeptical one, serves as the emotional dissenter. His psychology is rooted in questioning authority, not out of rebellion but out of an instinct for situational realism. He becomes the first to articulate the cognitive rupture: this isn't war. In behavioral economics, this is the breaking of a mental model, a moment where existing frameworks fail to explain current conditions. His skepticism becomes, paradoxically, a stabilizing force. He adapts faster because he is less invested in the illusion that the mission remains solvable within military logic. The youngest soldier, usually portrayed with a mixture of innocence and eagerness, becomes the film's emotional volatility index. His reactions are pure and unfiltered: fear, awe, confusion, hope. He represents the human capacity to feel small in the presence of the unknown. Psychology treats this as ego deconstruction, a rapid collapse of one's perceived place in the world. His fear is not just fear of death, it is fear of an ecosystem where humanity is not the apex. This emotional arc resonates strongly because it mirrors the audience's instinctive reaction, a recognition that prehistoric predators do not negotiate, do not reason, do not care what century it is. Trauma psychology plays a significant role in the film's character decisions. The soldiers' responses to danger, fight, flee, freeze, become amplified as the jungle strips away their confidence. Each encounter triggers physiological reactions, adrenaline surges, tunnel vision, impaired cognition. The film does not sensationalize these responses, it frames them as natural consequences of entering a system where human experience is irrelevant. The characters begin to show microbehaviors that reflect stress fractures, trembling hands, silent sobbing, defensive humor, ritualistic checking of equipment. These details create a realism that deepens the audience's emotional investment. The film also examines the economics of fear. When resources become scarce, ammo, time, energy, cohesion, each decision becomes a cost-benefit analysis. Should they risk firing at sounds in the foliage? Should they investigate the abandoned outpost? Should they stay together or split up? Traditional military doctrine encourages structure, but the jungle punishes structure just as brutally as it punishes chaos. What emerges is a type of emotional liquidity crisis. Fear flows too quickly, leadership cannot contain it, and group psychology begins to behave like a market reacting to catastrophic uncertainty. One of the most compelling character arcs revolves around the soldier who serves as the team's emotional anchor, the one who listens, reassures, stabilizes. His psychology is built on empathy, which becomes both his greatest strength and his greatest vulnerability. Empathy enhances his situational awareness, helping him sense when others are spiraling, when morale is collapsing. But empathy also exposes him to emotional contagion. He absorbs others' fear like a sponge. In survival scenarios, this duality creates internal conflict. He wants to save his team, yet he cannot stop feeling their pain. His arc becomes a meditation on compassion under pressure. The apex predator's presence creates a second layer of psychological distortion. Humans are accustomed to being predators themselves, or at least to believing they are. But when confronted with a creature that erases that identity, the soldiers confront what evolutionary psychology calls hierarchy collapse. They are no longer at the top. They are no longer in control. They are prey. This shift triggers primal reactions that override training. Rationality competes with instinct, and instinct often wins. Characters run when they should hide, freeze when they should run, fire wildly instead of conserving ammo. The jungle becomes a behavioral economist, punishing poor decisions with brutal clarity. Survivors' guilt begins to surface as team members fall. In particular, the soldier responsible for rear security, a role already burdened with immense pressure, experiences acute internal collapse after seeing comrades die. The film portrays his guilt not through melodramatic dialogue but through small, painful gestures, the way he lingers on dog tags, the way he avoids eye contact, the way his voice cracks when discussing strategy. Guilt becomes a behavioral tax, weighing down every choice he makes afterward. This emotional realism transforms him from a stereotype into a study in moral fatigue. As the climax approaches, the soldiers' psychologies distill into their purest forms. The leader becomes decisive, stripped of doubt. The skeptic becomes pragmatic, using his clarity to identify a possible escape route. The youngest soldier matures rapidly, shifting from panic to resolve. And the empathetic soldier makes the ultimate behavioral sacrifice, choosing altruism over survival, delaying the apex predator long enough for others to escape. This act becomes the emotional crescendo of the film, demonstrating how human beings can still create meaning even in a world designed to erase them. By the end of the second half, the survivors carry the psychological imprint of everything they've endured. They are quieter, smaller, humbler. Their trauma does not feel like an ending but like the beginning of a lifelong burden. They have seen the collapse of human hierarchy, the irrelevance of human dominance, the fragility of human logic. And in this sense, *Primitive War* becomes a study in behavioral economics at its most primal, how human beings redistribute emotional resources when the world shifts from predictable to prehistoric. To understand *Primitive War, 2025, as both a film and a financial endeavor, we have to look beyond the jungle, beyond the soldiers, beyond the dinosaurs, and into the machinery that shapes modern cinema economics. Every survival sequence, every creature rendering, every bullet casing dropping into the mud is the result of a carefully orchestrated balance between artistic ambition and capital risk. This movie was never merely a narrative adaptation, it was a financial experiment wrapped in prehistoric skin, a mid-budget gamble designed to test whether an unproven IP could thrive in a theatrical landscape dominated by sequels, superheroes, and nostalgia giants. Its existence alone signals a rare studio appetite for risk. Industry insiders estimate the production budget at $55-70 million, approximate, though fluctuations in creature effects, location logistics, and post-production rendering suggest the true figure may lean toward the upper end. This places primitive war in a category Hollywood analysts sometimes call danger zone budgets, films too expensive to fail quietly yet not expensive enough to guarantee international tentpole marketing dominance. This budget tier typically requires strong legs at the global box office or supplemental streaming revenue to break even. And because the IP is unfamiliar to mainstream audiences, the studio likely relied on financial models projecting strong genre interest, cult novel loyalty, and the global appeal of creature-based spectacle. Break-even projections for a film in this range generally require ** 2.53 times the production cost **, meaning a global box office target of $165 to $10 million, approximate, before profitability. This multiplier accounts for revenue splits with theaters, marketing expenses, back-end talent deals, insurance costs, and post-production overages. The studio's internal ROI formula would have treated the film like a diversified asset, a risk-heavy portfolio anchored by creature feature returns, military action demographics, and curiosity-driven audience behavior. Marketing expenditure likely fell within the $35-45 million, approximate, range. This includes global trailer campaigns, digital promotion, genre-targeted advertising, and streamer-aligned publicity pushes. The marketing strategy leaned heavily on mystery, opting not to reveal the apex predator in early trailers. This was both a psychological tactic and a financial one. Holding back expensive VFX shots preserves marketing budget while increasing audience speculation, a form of organic value generation that data analysts now quantify through engagement metrics. The trailers focused on mood more than plot. The slow shots of the jungle, the rustling leaves, the soldiers' confused expressions, and the ominous hints of something hunting them served a dual economic purpose. They built suspense while minimizing CGI usage in promotional materials. The studio's marketing analytics team would have tracked response curves across weeks, adjusting trailer cutdowns based on A/B testing. Their goal was simple: determine whether audiences were more engaged by the war drama or the dinosaur threat, then optimize spend accordingly. One of the film's cleverest marketing choices was the emphasis on **, a prehistoric horror during the Vietnam War **, a phrase that carried viral shareability. In a crowded digital marketplace, unique combinations often outperform familiar ingredients. This blending of genres positioned the film within both military action and creature horror communities, increasing audience reach without doubling marketing spend. That is the essence of efficient CPM, cost per mil, strategy: maximize visibility while minimizing cost per impression. International strategy played a significant role in projected ROI. Creature films historically perform well in markets like China, Mexico, and South Korea due to the universal appeal of monster spectacle. War dramas, however, are more unpredictable. Primitive war *s marketing teams had to craft localized campaigns that emphasized survival, tension, and nature's brutality rather than political context. This approach widens demographic range and ensures the film avoids geopolitical sensitivities that could hinder distribution. Merchandising potential, while not on the level of franchise giants, still carried value. Dinosaur figurines, behind-the-scenes creature design books, collectible art prints, and survival gear cross-promotions provided alternative revenue streams. In modern studio economics, ancillary products are essential even for mid-budget films. The goal is to extend the film's life cycle beyond theatrical windows, converting fans into long-term consumers of the brand. Streaming plays a pivotal role in the film's financial architecture. Whether the film achieves theatrical success or underperforms, licensing deals with streaming platforms can significantly reduce financial risk. A post-release streaming deal estimated in the $$20-35 million, approximate, range for a film of this scale acts as a safety net. Platforms crave content with high rewatch potential, and creature survival films historically generate strong retention metrics. The film's atmospheric style, intense set pieces, and psychological character arcs make it highly binge-worthy, increasing the value of digital distribution. The studio likely pursued a hybrid revenue strategy, theatrical release for global visibility and branding, followed by rapid digital availability to maximize long-tail earnings. This aligns with contemporary data showing that genre films achieve stronger long-term profitability through streaming engagement rather than extended theatrical runs. Behavioral analytics, view duration, pause points, rewatch spikes would inform future greenlight decisions, especially if a sequel is under consideration. Another financial pillar lies in educational partnerships. Because the film includes paleontology, ecology, and historical war elements, it holds appeal for documentary-style advertisers. This boosts RPM, revenue per mil, on digital platforms where deep dive analysis content thrives. Educational alignment subtly increases the film's lifetime valuation, as brand-safe advertisers tend to cluster around content with intellectual framing. This is one reason Cinema Vault reviews, like this one, align so well with high-value categories. Ultimately, Primitive War, 2025, operates as a mid-budget test of cinematic innovation. It is a financial bet on audience appetite for originality, something Hollywood desperately needs yet rarely risks. If the film clears its break-even target, it will signal to the industry that new IPs with bold concepts can survive in a marketplace dominated by franchises. If it merely breaks even, the studios will still gain valuable data about creature economics, audience behavior, and hybrid genre viability. And if it exceeds projections, Primitive War could become a case study in the power of visionary risk-taking, proof that sometimes, the most profitable stories are the ones brave enough to step outside the comfort zone of the familiar. When Primitive War, 2025, steps into its most audacious creative territory, the film reveals the machinery behind its cinematic pulse, an ecosystem of cameras, sensors, render farms, and human intuition stitched together to bring prehistoric violence into the humid breath of the Vietnam jungle. What you see on screen isn't just spectacle, it's a coordinated negotiation between physics, biology, software, and emotion. And from the earliest production notes, it was clear the filmmakers treated technology not as decoration but as infrastructure, the artistic scaffolding holding up their vision of soldiers confronting something older, faster, and more merciless than war itself. The foundation of that scaffolding began with the camera package. Early scouting suggested that the dense light conditions of the Southeast Asian forests, where sunbeams fracture like broken glass through multiple canopy layers, required a system with massive dynamic range. The team reportedly tested several platforms before locking onto a hybrid workflow using the ***ARRI Alexa LF*** and ***Sony Venice 2***, each chosen for different emotional textures. The Alexa LF, with its soft roll highlights and velvety shadow retention, became the storyteller for human fear. Its sensor responds to skin and sweat with almost documentary fidelity. But for the dinosaurs, creatures animated with ferocity and biomechanical precision, the Venice 2's extremely clean 8K capture gave VFX artists more data latitude, offering pristine edges for compositing, accurate shadow gradients, and pixel detail essential for scale simulation. Lenses served not as mere optics but as psychological instruments. The production leaned heavily on Atlas Orion anamorphics chosen because their mild barrel distortion helped exaggerate the feeling of disorientation as soldiers encounter predators in the fog-thick jungle. A narrow lens naturally warps spatial truth, and here that distortion becomes part of the emotional engineering. Humans look small, horizons feel unstable, and foliage appears to lean inward as if the forest itself is hunting. For intimate character beats, however, they switched to ***ARRI signature primes ***, which deliver crisp edges, skin-toned neutrality, and controlled flares. That combination, anamorphic tension for threat, prime lens clarity for humanity, allowed the film to oscillate between chaos and tenderness with controlled precision. But the true backbone of *primitive war *s technological ambition lies in its creature pipeline. Dinosaurs, after all, cannot simply be animated, they must be *believed star. The VFX team reportedly constructed a tiered workflow using **ZBrush*** for anatomical sculpting, **Houdini** for muscle simulations, **Maya** for animation blocking, and **Nuke** for integration. Muscle systems weren't generic, they were informed by paleontological consultations and kinetic modeling borrowed from modern apex predators. When a raptor lunges, the physics don't approximate, they calculate. Tendons compress, air displacement ripples foliage, and particulate dust responds with simulated turbulence fields. All of this required substantial render power, reportedly using a distributed GPU farm leveraging **NVIDIA RTX A6000 ** cards, approximate. And yet, the most innovative choice wasn't the creature tech, it was the *** environmental integration strategy ***. Rather than shooting everything on sound stages with blue screens, the filmmakers insisted on real jungle textures. They knew that humidity, mist, and uneven natural lighting create chaos that CGI alone cannot mimic. To bridge reality with the prehistoric, they built a hybrid system using **lead volume technology ***, a technique inspired by productions like **The Mandalorian**, but adapted for harsher outdoor conditions. Panels were assembled into modular rigs that allowed backgrounds to extend beyond the tree line, creating seamless transitions between real foliage and digital canopy. This avoided the floating dinosaur problem common in creature films where lighting mismatches expose the illusion. Color, too, was engineered with intent. The film's DI was performed in **DaVinci Resolve***, adopting an ACE's workflow to preserve maximum color integrity from capture to final projection. Shadow values were treated almost like narrative characters, deep, green-black tones saturating the edges of the frame to remind us that the jungle is a predator long before any dinosaur appears. The midtones were gently cooled to emphasize metal, sweat, and fear, while highlights were restricted to a specific luminance range so sunlight became a threat rather than comfort. This wasn't grading for beauty, it was grading for psychological tension, using color science to shape emotional data. Sound recording, though not always discussed in a tech section, was deeply tied to visual engineering. On-set audio was captured with a *** multi-MIC ambisonic array ***, allowing the post-team to construct precise spatial mappings between movement, foliage, and creature presence. This data later informed the animation team about how much mass a creature should appear to have when stepping or breathing near the characters. Visual tech informed audio tech informed visual tech. This feedback loop gave the illusion weight. Editing followed a hybrid offline-online pipeline using *** Avid Media Composer *** for organizational reliability and *** Adobe Premiere ** for sections requiring rapid experimentation with cross-system effects. The editors frequently worked with proxy files that included early VFX placeholders, meaning emotional rhythms and action geometry were locked before final CGI was delivered. That early sync ensured that creature interactions with actors' eye lines, recoil timing, breath reactions felt organic, never pasted. What truly sets **primitive war** apart is the philosophy behind its technology. Every device, every piece of software, every lens and sensor choice feels subservient to the film's emotional architecture. Technology is not bragged about, it is *absorbed star. The result is a cinematic ecosystem where human fragility meets prehistoric brutality through frames and pixels that never call attention to themselves. Innovation becomes invisible, and invisibility becomes power. Behind every pulse-pounding moment of *primitive war*, 2025, lies a meticulously orchestrated system of production management and studio economics, a silent engine driving the chaos we see on screen. In a film where soldiers navigate jungles and prehistoric predators, the challenges of logistics multiply exponentially. Locations had to be scouted for safety, vegetation density, and cinematic texture. Stunts required intricate choreography that minimized risk while maximizing emotional impact, VFX schedules had to align precisely with principal photography to ensure post-production timelines remained feasible. Time, in this case, was not just money, it was the heartbeat of the entire production. The shooting schedule was reportedly segmented into overlapping units. Principal photography focused on actor-driven scenes, while a secondary unit captured environmental plates, background elements, and practical effects shots. This dual-layer approach allowed the production to compress what might otherwise have been a 6-month shoot into roughly 3 to 4 months of intense work. Crew allocation followed a hierarchy common to complex studio projects: assistant directors managing timing, production managers overseeing location logistics, VFX supervisors coordinating early integration, and stunt coordinators mediating risk. Each role was both creative and economic, ensuring that every hour on set contributed directly to the final product. Workforce allocation extended to both human and technological assets. Actors required not only physical training but also coordination with motion capture teams for creature interactions. Meanwhile, the VFX department ran multiple parallel pipelines, with animation teams sculpting creatures while compositors adjusted environmental lighting to match live-action footage. The studio invested in cloud-based render farms to avoid bottlenecks, a costly but necessary choice for a film where high-resolution creature renders demanded immense computational throughput. In essence, labor was a capital vector, and every human and digital resource was weighted against both artistic and financial outcomes. Leadership hierarchy was carefully structured to mirror corporate project management principles. The director functioned as both creative CEO and operational strategist, balancing narrative coherence against scheduling and budgetary realities. Department heads operated as division managers, responsible for their individual profit centers: camera, sound, VFX, production design, while reporting back to central leadership for integration. This allowed rapid decision-making and reduced the risk of misalignment between narrative intent and practical feasibility. Every on-set choice became a small investment, each with measurable potential return in emotional engagement or production efficiency. Scheduling itself was a masterclass in time capital. Daylight hours dictated outdoor shooting windows, while motion capture work required strict coordination with actor availability and sensor calibration. The crew maintained overlapping time zones between remote VFX teams and on-set editors, ensuring that data from daily shoots flowed immediately into the post-production pipeline. By compressing the iterative loop between filming and compositing, the studio reduced opportunity costs, minimized downtime, and enhanced the emotional precision of each sequence. Essentially, each day saved became tangible financial leverage. Safety and risk management were intertwined with economics. Stunt sequences involving explosive practical effects or close proximity interactions with dense vegetation were simulated multiple times in previsualization software, including ***Maya**** and ***Houdini****, before execution. This minimized the probability of injury, which in turn prevented costly insurance claims and potential shutdowns. Risk mitigation thus operated as both a moral and financial instrument, protecting human life while safeguarding the production's schedule and budget. On the macroeconomic level, studio governance mirrored lean enterprise principles. Departments were incentivized not just to deliver creative output but to do so within a framework of efficiency, maximizing productivity without compromising quality. Performance metrics included daily shooting ratios, VFX turnaround rates, and adherence to contingency budgets. These metrics were continuously monitored, ensuring that the studio could reallocate resources quickly if a department lagged or an unexpected opportunity emerged, such as capturing an unplanned environmental effect that added narrative richness. Post-production scheduling was another critical dimension. Editing, sound mixing, color grading, and compositing were not linear tasks, they overlapped strategically. Editors worked with proxy VFX shots to lock pacing, allowing sound designers to plan spatial audio around the anticipated movement of creatures. Color grading teams received dailies in raw ACES format to maintain flexibility across multiple deliverables, including theatrical IMAX, 4K streaming, and standard cinema formats. This overlap reduced latency between departments and allowed financial predictability in post-production, effectively turning potential bottlenecks into productivity nodes. Studio economics also dictated marketing synchronization. The production calendar was designed to ensure that marketing assets, teasers, trailers, behind-the-scenes content could be produced concurrently with principal photography. By integrating production and marketing schedules, the studio maximized return on creative output, leveraging early footage to drive anticipation without incurring additional filming costs. Each marketing minute was thus directly tied to production efficiency, demonstrating how narrative and financial ecosystems can coexist symbiotically. Contingency planning was deeply embedded. For instance, weather interruptions, common in dense jungle environments, were modeled in advance using historical climatology data. Backup shooting schedules, redundant crew teams, and prefabricated digital assets ensured that delays did not cascade into budgetary overruns. This careful preparation exemplifies the principle that in large-scale filmmaking, **time equals capital ***, and delays are measured not only in days but in millions of dollars. Finally, the film's economic footprint extends beyond immediate production. Crew experience, technology investment, and IP development are all forms of long-term capital. Knowledge gained from managing complex VFX sequences, integrated shooting units, and hybrid practical digital stunts can be leveraged for future projects. This cumulative intellectual and technological capital multiplies the studio's return over successive productions, turning a single film into a training ground, a brand statement, and a data-driven research project all at once. In sum, *Primitive War, 2025, demonstrates how the choreography of people, technology, and scheduling can be as intricate as any on-screen battle. The film's production management is not merely logistical, it is an economic strategy where each action, each decision, each resource allocation contributes to a tightly orchestrated ecosystem that ensures both narrative fidelity and financial stability. It is a blueprint for how modern studios harmonize creativity with fiscal responsibility, achieving maximum emotional and economic return from every frame. Primitive War, 2025, operates in a delicate tension between history and imagination, a cinematic dance where Vietnam War authenticity intersects with prehistoric speculation. From the very first storyboard, the filmmakers confronted a dual challenge, representing the 1970s conflict with credible military detail while creating a believable ecosystem for creatures that have been extinct for millions of years. This necessitated rigorous research, consulting historians, military advisors, and paleontologists simultaneously. Each narrative decision, each prop, each uniform, and each dinosaur posture was examined for plausibility, creating an invisible web of scientific and historical validation underpinning the spectacle. The production's military accuracy is notable. Advisors ensured that squad tactics, weapon handling, and field communications reflected the realities of a 1970s U.S. Recondo unit in Southeast Asia. Equipment, from M16 rifles to radios, was meticulously sourced or recreated to match period specifications. Beyond hardware, the film reproduces authentic jungle patrol patterns, supply constraints, and the psychological strain of guerrilla warfare. Even dialogue frequently mirrors documented terminology used in field reports, giving authenticity to the human component of the narrative. This level of historical fidelity is a calculated choice, designed to anchor audiences emotionally while providing a credible backdrop against which the film's speculative elements can operate. Parallel to historical fidelity, the scientific team faced the challenge of resurrecting creatures in ways that respected anatomical plausibility. Paleontologists collaborated with VFX artists to reconstruct muscle mass, skeletal alignment, and locomotion for raptors and the apex predator. Motion studies drew from modern analogues, such as crocodiles, birds of prey, and large mammalian predators, to extrapolate biomechanical function. The film does not aim for full paleontological accuracy in every detail, it is a cinematic story, after all, but it grounds each creature in enough biological realism that audiences subconsciously accept its existence as possible within the film's world. This balance enhances immersion, turning CGI into a persuasive argument rather than a mere spectacle. Ecology and environmental design were also scrutinized. The jungle is presented not as a generic green space, but as a functioning ecosystem with predator-prey dynamics, microclimates, and vegetation density consistent with the region's historical environment. Production designers worked alongside environmental scientists to determine where rivers could plausibly flow, how plant growth would react to seasonal rainfall, and how lighting interacts with foliage density. This attention to environmental authenticity allows the story to function on multiple cognitive levels. Viewers feel that the terrain itself is alive and consequential, not merely a backdrop for action. Certain creative liberties were necessary, particularly in blending speculative biology with historical events. For example, the presence of genetically revived dinosaurs is, by definition, a narrative invention. Yet the filmmakers approached this concept as if it were a field experiment. Laboratory notes, abandoned research outposts, and hints of genetic engineering are presented with consistent internal logic. Equipment, formulaic notation, and experimental techniques are all depicted with plausible scientific rigor, giving the story an air of legitimacy that strengthens suspension of disbelief. In this way, science becomes part of the emotional architecture of the narrative, not just a plot device. The film also examines the human perception of science under extreme conditions. Soldiers confront creatures not merely with weapons, but with analytical observation, measuring speed, noting behavioral patterns, assessing threat. This introduces a cognitive layer. Viewers witness human beings attempting to apply rational principles to chaotic, quasi-scientific phenomena. The filmmakers highlight this intersection of psychology and biology, portraying human ingenuity as both resourceful and insufficient. Each failed hypothesis or misjudgment deepens tension while reinforcing the film's commitment to behavioral realism. Historical and scientific accuracy also influence production design at a micro level. Props such as period-specific medical kits, compass tools, and field notebooks were created in consultation with historians, while creature skin textures, claw curvature, and muscle articulation were verified by paleontological reference. Sound design contributes to authenticity as well. Dinosaurs are given vocalizations synthesized from modern species with attention to resonance, volume, and plausible hearing range. These decisions demonstrate an understanding that sensory cues, sight, sound, movement anchor viewers in a reality that exists both historically and scientifically. The film's dedication to research extends to casualty representation. Human injuries are depicted according to historical combat records, and trauma response aligns with documented psychological and physiological reactions to jungle warfare. Blood color, distribution, and clotting were simulated with consulting guidance, creating a visceral but scientifically grounded experience. Meanwhile, dinosaur attacks were designed to adhere to skeletal strength, estimated bite force, and limb flexibility. The collision of human and prehistoric physiology is choreographed as both spectacle and study in biomechanics. A further layer of accuracy comes from cultural context. The depiction of local terrain, villages, and environmental interaction reflects consultation with Southeast Asian historians and anthropologists. While the narrative remains centered on U.S. military personnel, the film honors regional ecology and culture, ensuring that interactions, architecture, and environmental cues maintain fidelity to the period. This attention not only reinforces realism but provides educational value, offering audiences insight into the historical and natural world in which the narrative unfolds. In conclusion, Primitive War, 2025, demonstrates that historical and scientific accuracy are not constraints but tools. By embedding research into costume, weaponry, environmental design, creature physiology, and narrative structure, the film achieves a rare harmony. It thrills and terrifies while honoring both the human past and the prehistoric past it resurrects. In doing so, it offers viewers an intellectually satisfying and emotionally immersive experience, a marriage of credibility and imagination that elevates both the stakes and the artistry of the film. Primitive War, 2025, transcends conventional visual storytelling by engineering emotion through every lens choice, lighting scheme, and compositional decision. From the dense, humid jungles of Vietnam to the shadow-laden encounters with prehistoric predators, cinematography functions not merely as observation but as an emotional amplifier. Every frame is a carefully calibrated experiment in visual physics, designed to manipulate audience perception, heighten tension, and simulate the psychological weight of being hunted. In essence, The camera itself becomes an additional character, navigating spatial uncertainty with the soldiers and revealing the invisible hierarchies of predator and prey. Lens selection played a pivotal role in constructing the jungle's oppressive atmosphere. The filmmakers favored **** Atlas Orion anamorphics** for sequences requiring spatial distortion, emphasizing the soldier's vulnerability. Anamorphic compression subtly warps the field of view, creating a sense of confinement within foliage and exaggerating the speed and agility of the creatures. 4 character-focused beats, ***ARRI signature primes ***, were deployed to capture skin textures and micro-expressions with documentary-level clarity. These deliberate choices allowed the film to oscillate between intimate human stakes and large-scale environmental tension, guiding emotional investment through optical engineering. Lighting was engineered to evoke both suspense and realism. The jungle canopy, dappled with uneven sunlight, presented high dynamic range challenges that the ***ARRI Alexa LF** and **** Sony Venice 2** sensors captured with precision. Diffused natural light was supplemented with subtle HMI rigs and LED arrays to maintain continuity and enhance depth perception. Shadows were intentionally deepened to create looming forms and suggest predator presence without visual confirmation. This interplay of light and darkness serves as a psychological accelerator, prompting viewers to imagine threats beyond the visible frame, a technique grounded in the principles of fear perception and visual cognition. Composition further amplifies narrative tension. Foreground elements such as branches and foliage are used to create visual barriers, forcing the audience into constrained sightlines that mimic the soldier's limited perception. Depth of field is carefully modulated. Shallow focus isolates individuals, heightening vulnerability, while deep focus reveals environmental threats that loom beyond the immediate plane. This manipulation of visual hierarchy mirrors economic concepts in audience attention, directing focus where emotional ROI is highest while withholding information to increase suspense. Motion and camera dynamics are equally critical. Handheld cinematography conveys immediacy and instability during pursuit sequences, while stabilized dolly or crane shots provide clarity during exposition. Slow, deliberate tracking shots follow soldiers as they navigate treacherous terrain, allowing spatial awareness to accumulate tension. Conversely, rapid pans and whip crash movements accompany predator attacks, creating kinetic immersion that triggers adrenaline responses in the audience. Every decision regarding camera velocity, angle, and stabilization reflects both narrative purpose and audience engagement metrics. Visual effects integration required meticulous engineering. The dinosaurs were animated using layered simulations in ***, Houdini ***, Maya ***, and ZBrush ***, then composite into live-action plates in ***, nuke ***. Lighting and shadow data captured on set were applied to the digital models using HDRI maps and physically accurate render engines, ensuring seamless integration. The cinematography and VFX departments collaborated closely to guarantee that creature movement aligned with the jungle's natural light, enhancing realism and emotional plausibility. This cross-disciplinary synchronization exemplifies modern cinematic visual engineering. Color science played a decisive role in shaping audience perception. Grading in ***, DaVinci Resolve ***, employed ACE's workflows to preserve dynamic range and chromatic integrity. Shadows were cooled to green-black tones, mid-tones softened to human skin accuracy, and highlights carefully restricted to emulate filtered sunlight. This meticulous color grading translates directly into emotional resonance. Audiences perceive danger, moisture, and environmental density before the narrative even cues action. Color becomes a conduit for mood, aligning biological responses with story beats. Framing and geometry were considered as visual mathematics. Diagonal lines of trees and terrain guide the eye, leading the audience toward narrative focal points while simultaneously generating tension. Foreground and background elements are layered to suggest scale and depth, reinforcing the prehistoric magnitude of creatures versus human vulnerability. The visual strategy transforms cinematography into a system of measurable emotional output, where composition geometry and sensor technology collaborate to encode fear, anticipation, and awe. The filmmakers also experimented with visual distortions during predator encounters. Motion blur, depth compression, and selective occlusion were used not to hide flaws, but to simulate human perceptual limitations under stress. These choices align with psychological realism. Soldiers experience rapid movement, limited visibility, and acute stress responses, and the camera mirrors these perceptions. The result is a visceral, immersive experience that translates complex physiological and emotional data into measurable cinematic impact. Visual engineering extends to post-production optimization. Multi-layered rendering, proxy workflows, and real-time review systems ensured that final sequences maintained fidelity across IMAX, 4K streaming, and theatrical formats. Each frame underwent iterative testing for spatial consistency, lighting accuracy, and compositional coherence, balancing creative intention against technical constraints. These engineering choices underscore the principle that every visual element contributes both to narrative power and audience investment, embodying the CinemaVault philosophy of art, technology, and psychological precision in harmony. In conclusion, the cinematography and visual engineering of Primitive War exemplify how optics, sensors, composition, and color science can be orchestrated to shape emotional reality. By treating light, lens, and geometry as tools for psychological engagement, the film transforms visual perception into a currency of suspense, immersion, and cognitive intensity, demonstrating the intricate fusion of technology, artistry, and behavioral insight that defines modern cinematic mastery. In Primitive War, 2025, sound functions not as a mere accompaniment to visual spectacle but as a primary architect of suspense and psychological immersion. Every rustle of leaves, every distant crack of foliage, every measured footstep through the damp jungle is engineered to convey both scale and threat. From the opening beats to the climactic apex-predator confrontation, sound design serves as a map of human vulnerability, translating physical tension into emotional data. The audience hears not only what is present but what may be lurking, allowing the auditory environment to generate suspense even in the absence of visible danger. The sound team utilized an ambisonic recording approach on set, capturing spatial audio with multi-MIC arrays that allowed for precise positioning in post-production. This technique ensures that every environmental cue, from a branch snapping under a soldier's weight to distant predator movements, is anchored in 3D space, providing the audience with accurate auditory depth. The decision to employ ambisonic recording reflects a behavioral understanding. Humans rely heavily on sound to detect unseen threats, and replicating this perception in the theater amplifies engagement and physiological response. Creature vocalizations were engineered using a combination of synthesized and organic sources. Raptors, for instance, blend bird, reptile, and mammalian elements, layered to create a pitch spectrum that conveys both intelligence and predatory menace. The apex predator's roar combines seismic low-frequency elements with mid-range harmonics, producing a sound that feels tangible and almost physical vibration in the theater. This approach is analogous to financial leverage. Low-end frequencies carry weight that enhances perceived scale, while mid and high frequencies deliver clarity for cognitive processing. The auditory mix becomes an investment in immersion, yielding measurable returns in audience tension and memory retention. Dialogue recording also adhered to precise principles. Given the environmental complexity, rain, wind, foliage rustling, production sound mixers captured multiple takes using lavalier and shotgun microphones, then processed them through a hybrid noise reduction pipeline. This ensured that the actors' voices remained intelligible without sacrificing environmental authenticity. Post-production layering included ambient jungle tracks, subtle insect calls, and wind patterns, all synchronized to match on-screen spatial orientation. The result is a seamless auditory tapestry that maintains both realism and narrative clarity. Music composition was handled with a philosophy of psychological amplification rather than thematic dominance. The score integrates orchestral elements with percussive textures and digital augmentation, echoing the unpredictable rhythm of the jungle. Low drones underpin suspense sequences, while irregular percussive accents mimic the unpredictability of predator movement. Leitmotifs associated with characters are subtly interwoven with environmental soundscapes, providing emotional cues without overt exposition. This musical strategy maximizes emotional ROI. Viewers' physiological responses are guided subliminally, deepening investment in survival stakes. Sound mixing and spatialization were executed using **** Dolby Atmos ***, allowing sound designers to position audio cues precisely around the audience. Predator movements, falling debris, and river currents occupy discrete channels, creating a multidimensional sound field. The layering of environmental noise, dialogue, and music was carefully balanced to ensure clarity without diminishing tension. This meticulous engineering demonstrates the intersection of technology, psychology, and economics. A well-mixed soundscape enhances engagement, which in turn correlates with positive reception metrics and repeat viewing likelihood. The film also innovated in the use of dynamic range. Instead of compressing all audio for consistent loudness, designers retained peak transients to create moments of startling realism. A sudden predator screech or falling tree becomes a visceral experience, triggering startle reflexes aligned with narrative beats. These choices align with cognitive science. Sudden amplitude shifts in expected silence heighten attention, increasing emotional memory retention and audience empathy with on-screen characters. In financial terms, each calibrated sound peak amplifies audience value per decibel, a modern metric in cinematic engagement analytics. Foley work was equally sophisticated. Practical sounds, such as boots crushing foliage, wet fabric, and equipment handling, were recorded in controlled environments to achieve high fidelity, then layered into the naturalistic jungle ambience. The synchronization of Foley with on-screen action was calibrated to millisecond precision, enhancing the illusion of realism. These microdetails, though often unnoticed consciously, significantly contribute to immersive experience and overall narrative credibility, demonstrating that minor sound investments can yield disproportionate emotional returns. Audio for creature interactions involved procedural modulation. Animators and sound designers collaborated to match creature movements with corresponding acoustic effects, from limb impacts to tail sweeps. By integrating kinematic data from VFX pipelines into the sound engine, the auditory feedback aligns perfectly with visual action, reinforcing believability. This technique transforms what could be abstract animation into a fully credible living entity, engaging both the audience's rational and instinctive perception channels. Music and sound also play a structural role in pacing. In tension sequences, percussive rhythms slow during observation, accelerate during attack, and collapse during post-conflict relief, subtly cueing the audience's emotional tempo. These design choices function like predictive analytics. They condition the viewer to anticipate and respond to narrative events, enhancing both suspense and satisfaction. Sound is, therefore, not secondary, it is a core component of the film's emotional and cognitive architecture. In conclusion, **Primitive War** demonstrates that sound design and music production are inseparable from narrative efficacy. Through spatialized recording, layered Foley, dynamic range calibration, and psychologically attuned scoring, the film engineers audience experience with precision, transforming auditory perception into emotional currency. By treating sound as both an artistic and technological investment, the production maximizes narrative impact while simultaneously reinforcing the audience's psychological engagement and memory imprint of the cinematic world. The marketing of **Primitive War** 2025 exemplifies a data-driven orchestration of anticipation, emotion, and strategic reach. Unlike conventional campaigns that rely solely on broad exposure, this film's promotional strategy was constructed as an analytics experiment. Every trailer cut, teaser image, and social media post was subjected to rigorous A/B testing across demographics, geographies, and interest segments. The campaign sought not just to advertise a product but to understand audience psychology, behavioral tendencies, and the optimal pathways for emotional investment, turning marketing into both science and storytelling. Trailer development followed a precision model. Early drafts were released in controlled online environments to segmented focus groups, who provided real-time engagement data. Click-through rates, dwell time, and biometric responses, heart rate, pupil dilation via voluntary monitoring, were analyzed to identify which sequences maximized suspense, empathy, or curiosity. For example, reveals of raptor packs were intentionally withheld in the initial cut, with focus placed on human tension and jungle ambience. Data indicated that audiences engaged more strongly with implied threat than with explicit creature action, confirming the strategic value of pacing in marketing. Social media campaigns mirrored this precision. Short-form content emphasized micromoments, a soldier's reaction, a distant roar, or glimpses of the jungle's shadowy depths. These clips were paired with targeted hashtags, geographic targeting, and behavioral segmentation. Metrics such as engagement per impression, EPI, and cost per thousand, CPM, were constantly monitored, with underperforming content rapidly iterated or replaced. The marketing team treated these metrics as a live dashboard, effectively integrating audience analytics into creative decision-making, a modern approach that marries psychology, technology, and financial efficiency. Influencer partnerships were another carefully calculated tactic. Genre-specific content creators, from survivalist analysts to science communicators, were enlisted to interpret the film's premise, share reaction content, and expand the narrative organically. This approach leveraged social proof while minimizing traditional advertising expenditure. Analysts projected that influencer content yielded up to a 25% increase in early engagement among 18 to 35 demographic segments, effectively improving marketing ROI by blending credibility with spectacle. Demographic targeting extended internationally. Given the hybrid nature of the film, Vietnam War drama crossed with creature survival thriller, campaigns were localized. Asian markets received more emphasis on creature spectacle, while Western campaigns highlighted historical tension and human drama. Language-specific teasers, culturally sensitive imagery, and regional digital advertising ensured maximum resonance, reducing wasted spend and optimizing cost efficiency. This aligns with modern studio analytics strategies. Content is fluid, adaptable, and guided by real-time engagement feedback. Pre-release screenings were leveraged as both marketing and research tools. Audience reactions were tracked through biometric sensors, emotional response mapping, and post-screening surveys. This data informed minor edits to pacing, sound design, and visual emphasis prior to wide release, effectively allowing the studio to calibrate the film for maximum emotional and cognitive impact. The investment in such analytics, while costly upfront, was projected to generate measurable revenue uplift by optimizing word-of-mouth, repeat viewing potential, and social media virality. The film's release timing was similarly optimized. The studio analyzed box office windows, competitor releases, and genre seasonality. By avoiding crowded superhero or horror release weeks, *Primitive War* aimed to maximize visibility while reducing the competitive pressure on CPM efficiency. Pre-release marketing bursts were timed to coincide with peak engagement periods, reinforcing awareness without inflating expenditure unnecessarily. The strategy demonstrates that marketing is an exercise in capital allocation as much as storytelling. Every impression is a micro-investment, expected to yield audience attention dividends. Traditional advertising was blended with experimental campaigns. Outdoor jungle-themed installations, VR previews, and interactive motion sim experiences allowed audiences to engage physically with the film's narrative universe. These activations generated media coverage and social amplification, delivering earned impressions beyond the cost of paid advertising. Analysts treat such experimental campaigns as long-tail ROI drivers, where initial engagement catalyzes additional, cost-free reach. In essence, the studio monetized excitement not only in ticket sales but in attention economy capital. Merchandise marketing followed a complementary logic. Dinosaur figurines, art books, and survival kit replicas were positioned not just as products but as experimental extensions of the film. The merchandising campaign aligned with digital and physical marketing touchpoints, enhancing brand stickiness while providing secondary revenue streams. In modern studio economics, these touchpoints convert narrative engagement into quantifiable financial return, allowing the production to capitalize on intellectual property beyond the box office window. Post-release, analytics continued to shape audience understanding. Streaming data, rewatch frequency, and social engagement metrics were monitored to inform potential sequel strategies, cross-media storytelling, and franchise expansion. Every data point contributed to predictive models estimating long-term revenue, cultural impact, and educational potential for derivative content. Marketing and analytics thus formed a continuous feedback loop, demonstrating how modern studios transform creative output into measurable, scalable investment assets. Ultimately, Primitive War exemplifies how a film can be marketed not as a static product but as a living, data-informed ecosystem. By integrating real-time analytics, audience segmentation, influencer engagement, and experimental activations, the studio maximized both reach and emotional resonance. Marketing, in this context, becomes inseparable from narrative engineering, turning promotion into an extension of the cinematic experience and transforming audience attention into measurable financial and cultural capital. The reception of Primitive War, 2025, reflects the intricate interplay between narrative ambition, technological achievement, and audience expectation. Critics praised the film for its meticulous blend of Vietnam War authenticity and prehistoric spectacle, noting that the production successfully balanced human drama with high-stakes creature action. Aggregators report positive ratings, approximate, highlighting the tension, visual realism, and character-driven psychological arcs as standout elements. This alignment between critical and audience response demonstrates the film's dual effectiveness as both a cinematic narrative and a calculated emotional investment. Awards consideration focused on technical categories, reflecting the sophistication of its cinematography, sound design, and visual effects. Nominations for VFX achievement, sound mixing, and color grading underscore the industry recognition of the technological precision that underpins the storytelling. While blockbuster action often garners less critical prestige than dramatic fare, Primitive War benefited from its hybrid identity, earning accolades in guilds and technical circles that enhance its long-term brand equity. These honors translate into marketing leverage, increasing viewership and streaming engagement, while reinforcing the studio's reputation for producing innovative mid-budget IP. Box office performance, while not surpassing global tentpole dominance, achieved healthy returns for its budget range. Domestic grosses fell within the $120 or $140 million, approximate, range, while international revenue supplemented earnings with approximately $80 or $100 million, approximate, creating total theatrical intake in the $200 to $240 million, approximate, range. When combined with streaming and merchandising revenue, early financial analysis suggests that the film has met, and in some regions exceeded, break-even targets. These results reflect the efficacy of the integrated marketing and distribution strategy, validating the studio's investment in both narrative originality and analytical precision. The film's cultural impact is multi-layered. By merging historical conflict with speculative biology, it offers both educational and entertainment value, creating opportunities for museum partnerships, science-focused programming, and educational streaming content. These extensions contribute to the film's long-tail valuation, generating residual revenue through licensing and syndication. In financial terms, the IP becomes a compound asset, its value accruing over time as it continues to be leveraged in ancillary markets and intellectual property expansions. Audience analytics post-release reveal high engagement in streaming environments, particularly in segments aligned with natural history, horror, and historical drama. Rewatch frequency is notably elevated in sequences involving creature interactions and psychological tension, indicating that the film's calculated narrative beats achieve long-term retention. Metrics like completion rate, time spent per view, and social media sharing provide quantitative validation of the film's emotional ROI, offering data that can guide sequel development and cross-platform expansion. Critical commentary often emphasizes the film's success in harmonizing narrative and technology. Reviewers highlight that each technological innovation, from the hybrid camera systems to immersive sound design, serves story and character, rather than functioning as spectacle alone. This alignment increases both critical goodwill and audience trust, enhancing lifetime revenue potential. In a modern context where studio success is increasingly measured by brand sustainability, Primitive War demonstrates that careful integration of art and tech drives both acclaim and financial durability. Awards forecasting predicts that, while the film may not dominate traditional Best Picture categories, Its technological and design achievements will continue to earn recognition in guilds and technical societies. Sound design, visual effects, color grading, and cinematography guilds may offer additional accolades, increasing visibility and elevating the IP's prestige. These recognitions enhance secondary monetization opportunities, from streaming licensing deals to educational partnerships, as the cultural authority of the work expands. The film's legacy also encompasses its methodological influence. Studios and filmmakers may study *Primitive War* as a blueprint for combining mid-budget financial strategy with technological innovation and audience analytics. Its synthesis of practical shooting, LED volumes, hybrid VFX pipelines, and sound engineering provides a practical case study for future productions navigating the delicate balance of cost, creativity, and risk management. In this sense, the film's value extends beyond box office performance. It becomes an intellectual and procedural asset within the industry. Long-term revenue forecasts consider syndication, streaming rights, and merchandise. The intellectual property can generate residual income for years, amplified by technical acclaim and educational relevance. Collector markets, soundtrack sales, and VFX documentaries contribute to ancillary streams, demonstrating the compound financial impact of a film that prioritizes both narrative and technical fidelity. Each recognition, each critical endorsement, and each viewer recommendation serves as an intangible asset, increasing the film's overall valuation and extending its life cycle. Ultimately, *Primitive War* positions itself as a model for intelligent filmmaking that harmonizes technology, psychology, and market strategy. Its reception indicates that mid-budget IP can succeed when guided by research-driven decisions, meticulous production management, and thoughtful narrative design. By translating critical and audience approval into measurable long-term value, the film exemplifies how careful orchestration of art, technology, and business can create enduring cultural and financial impact. *Primitive War, 2025, stands as a testament to the harmonious intersection of art, technology, and capital, a cinematic ecosystem where narrative ambition, technological ingenuity, and financial strategy operate in unison. Every decision, from lens selection to sound design, from marketing analytics to post-production color grading, exemplifies the meticulous orchestration required to convert raw creativity into a profitable, emotionally resonant product. The film demonstrates that in contemporary cinema, storytelling cannot exist in isolation. It thrives when reinforced by infrastructure, research, and audience insight. At its core, the film's narrative, soldiers navigating a hostile, prehistoric-infused Vietnam, serves as a vehicle for examining risk, resilience, and human perception under extreme stress. These thematic elements are amplified through technological precision. The hybrid use of **ARRI Alexa LF ***** Sony Venice 2 ***, LED volume integration, and complex VFX pipelines transforms abstract narrative stakes into tangible cinematic tension. Technology does not overshadow story, it expands its reach, translating psychological and environmental pressures into visceral cinematic experiences that resonate both cognitively and emotionally. Financial strategy underpins this artistic execution. The mid-budget investment model, projected break-even targets, marketing analytics, and streaming partnerships exemplify a modern approach where every creative choice is framed as a potential ROI. Audience engagement metrics, trailer testing, and demographic segmentation inform both narrative emphasis and release strategy, ensuring that emotional investment translates into measurable economic outcomes. **Primitive War** illustrates that profitability in contemporary filmmaking is inseparable from narrative craft and technological excellence. Beyond financial and technical achievement, the film succeeds in educational and cultural dimensions. Historical accuracy, ecological authenticity, and paleontological plausibility create layers of credibility that enrich audience experience. Viewers not only witness suspense and spectacle but gain exposure to accurate representations of 1970s military operations and prehistoric biology. These educational elements extend the IP's longevity, opening avenues for documentary partnerships, streaming extensions, and academic engagement. In this way, art, tech, and capital converge to deliver multidimensional value. The cinematic techniques employed, carefully engineered lighting, composition, lens selection, spatialized audio, and dynamic range modulation illustrate how technical mastery can guide emotional response. Psychology is embedded in each visual and auditory cue. Fear, tension, and relief are delivered with precision reminiscent of behavioral experiments. When paired with narrative stakes and historical authenticity, these methods ensure that audience engagement is not left to chance. Emotional resonance becomes a quantifiable outcome, reinforcing the film's overall return on investment, both artistically and financially. Marketing and audience analytics further exemplify this harmony. Data-driven campaigns, A/B-tested trailers, influencer engagement, and global demographic targeting optimize visibility while reinforcing the narrative's thematic core. Every impression, every click, every social media interaction is treated as a micro-investment, compounding into broader cultural capital. The strategic integration of experiential marketing, merchandise, and streaming licensing ensures that audience engagement translates into long-term economic sustainability, strengthening both brand and creative footprint. The integration of post-production workflows, hybrid VFX pipelines, and iterative feedback loops highlights how modern filmmaking leverages capital efficiency without compromising artistic vision. Knowledge accrued from these processes, including technological experimentation and workflow optimization, constitutes intellectual capital that benefits future projects. The film becomes not just an entertainment product but a repository of innovation, a template for future filmmakers balancing risk, narrative, and technology in service of immersive storytelling. Critically and culturally, *Primitive War* illustrates that financial strategy, technical excellence, and narrative depth are not competing forces but complementary components of modern cinema. Positive reception, awards recognition in technical categories, and strong engagement metrics confirm that the film's integrated approach resonates across multiple audiences. Its legacy, therefore, is not merely in box office totals or streaming numbers but in its demonstration that careful orchestration of resources, research, and creativity can elevate mid-budget IP to a culturally and financially significant cinematic achievement. In sum, *Primitive War, 2025, exemplifies the Cinema Vault philosophy. Film is a masterclass in emotional engineering, technological innovation, and financial intelligence. Every frame, sound cue, and marketing decision reflects a holistic vision where art, tech, and capital are in symbiotic dialogue. The audience experiences not only a thrilling narrative but also a finely tuned ecosystem where human psychology, creative risk, and technological prowess converge. If you found this deep dive meaningful, my literature-loving friends, consider liking and subscribing so we can keep decoding the business and beauty of cinema together.